Hey, John, it's great to see you today. I have been looking forward to spending time with you, discussing what you've been going through and helping you understand how some of the thoughts that you've been experiencing are connected to your feelings and behaviors. And I know you've shared with me um, how this business closure of game day has been weighing heavily on you. And would it be okay if we talked about it a little bit more today?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's been on my mind. I can't stop thinking about the failure of the business, and it just feels like I've lost confidence in myself.
I understand. And that's exactly what we'll focus on today. Um, it sounds like the thoughts that you have about this business failure are really affecting how you feel about yourself overall. And in fact, what you're experiencing aligns with what we see often in people experiencing depression or anxiety. And have you ever heard of those terms before?
I have heard of them, but I guess I just don't think about that. I just feel like I've failed at the business.
Well, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit more about what those terms mean, and because what I'm hearing, and it sounds like from what you're describing, that there's this pattern of automatic thoughts and negative thinking that contribute to feelings of anxiety and depression when you think of game day. And depression can happen when we get stuck in a cycle of negative thoughts. It can create and lead to further anxiety about ourselves, about the future, about our circumstances and our abilities. And in your case, it sounds like the loss of the business has led to some automatic thoughts that are related to failure, and that these thoughts are not only affecting your mood, but also how you see your future and your future potential. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, that makes sense. But I just don't know how to stop thinking about it.
That's understandable. And that's exactly what cognitive behavioral therapy, known as CBT, is all about. It's designed literally to help with that. And so let me explain how this works. In CBT, we talk about something called the cognitive model, which helps us to understand how your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all interconnected in this form of a triangle, right? The thought then results in an emotion and a feeling, or the thought then results in an action. And does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Well, here's an example. When the thought, I failed at this business, so I am a failure, pops into your mind, how do you feel after that?
Hopeless. It makes me feel like I can't do anything right.
Exactly. That thought, I'm a failure, triggers feelings of hopelessness, which can make you feel stuck or powerless to change things. And so now let's think about how those feelings affect the actions and what you do next. So, how does feeling um, hopeless or stuck impact your actions or behavior?
I guess it makes me avoid thinking about starting something new. I just don't feel like I can succeed in anything.
Mm, right. So, you see, the thought leads to this negative feeling, and then that feeling influences your behavior. And in this case, avoiding new opportunities or challenges, or putting yourself in this space of looking for the next venture and really giving yourself to it. And this cycle can reinforce itself, keeping you feeling stuck or limited. Does that sound like what you've been experiencing?
Yeah, it feels like a never ending loop.
Exactly. But here's the really good news. CBT helps break that cycle, this never ending loop. It breaks the cycle by teaching you how to identify and challenge those negative thoughts. And one of the main goals is to help you change the negative thought pattern. For example, instead of automatically thinking I'm a failure, we would work on challenging that thought and come up with something that is more realistic and helpful. Because we know intellectually that thought is not true. It was just true in this one instance, but it's become habituated. So now we need to really come up with something that's more helpful and more positive than that.
But how do I stop myself from thinking like that? It just kind of comes automatically.
It does feel automatic right now, and I understand that completely. That's completely normal. And what we'll work on is something called cognitive restructuring. That involves recognizing when a negative thought comes in, like, I'm a failure, and asking yourself, is this completely true? You can then challenge the thought with evidence from your life. And we've talked about your work life because this was a side hustle as an entrepreneur, but you have your corporate life. And so when we challenge the thought, you can, from with evidence from your life, you can say, is this really true that you're a failure just because one business didn't work out? What about the successful business you ran with your sister for 20 years? Tell me more about that.
Well, that was a success. Boy, but this last one just sticks in my mind. It really makes me doubt myself.
Mm. That's understandable. But here's where we can start to adapt and adjust the negative thinking habit. Running a successful business for 20 years shows you have the ability to succeed. And one setback doesn't erase that. By shifting your thinking from I'm a failure to something more balanced, like this business didn't work out, but that doesn't mean I'll fail at everything. You can start to feel less stuck.
Yeah, I could see how that might help.
Well, another big part of CBT is problem solving skills. Sometimes when we feel overwhelmed by one big problem, eh, it's hard to know where to start. And in your case, feeling like failure might influence how you feel about everything, or that it's just so big, this one failure in this one moment in this one business. CBT can help you break down that big feeling into smaller, more manageable pieces so you can start taking small steps forward instead of feeling so stuck and in that place of repetition. How
You
does
know,
that
that sounds good. That sounds like it could really be helpful. I just don't know how to start moving forward again.
sound? That's completely normal, and it's something we can work on together. We'll develop self-help strategies to give you tools for managing stress and staying resilient when things feel overwhelming. And these tools will also help when you become more aware of triggers, things that might bring up that same feeling of failure, so you can address them in a healthier way. Is that landing for you?
Yes, it makes sense. Yeah. I like the idea of learning to think differently and focusing on solving the problems. I think I'm ready to give this a try.
Well, great. So, just to recap, in CBT, we focus on helping you change negative thought patterns, solve problems, and develop skills to manage overwhelming situations. And the more we work on challenging those thoughts and making changes in your behavior, the better you'll feel over time. And I'm so grateful to have this time together with you and happy to hear that we'll take it step by step, and I'll be here to support you all along the way. And for now, why don't we start with identifying some of those automatic thoughts as they come up this week? We'll use a thought record to help you with that. And that'll be some of the homework, and I'll give you a worksheet. And then next time we'll begin work on challenging them. Sound good?
I love it. Yeah, let's do it.
Well, perfect. We'll take it just one thought at a time. Well, now what we can do is we can look at that worksheet together And with that worksheet, we can just practice with one single thought. And then I can show you how the worksheet works. And if you have any questions, then we can address them while you're here. Um, and then after that, our time today will be done. And I'll send you home with this worksheet so that you continue tracking throughout the week. And we'll have something to work on the next session. Does that sound like a good plan?
That sounds like a great plan. Thank you very much for the help.
Well, thank you. And I will go get that worksheet and we'll get started and then we'll finish up. Thanks, John. Give me
Fantastic.
one moment.